Imagine this, Alex.
What? What am I imagining?
Okay, you're sitting at home watching TV.
I'm sitting down watching TV.
When you hear a knock on the door.
I hear a knock on the door. Who is that?
No, you don't say who's that, okay?
Hello.
Just go along with me, okay? You're not expecting anyone, or if you're like me, you hadn't invited anybody over.
Okay.
Okay, because we don't do that here.
We don't like people.
We live in solitude, sir. But anyway, so you're wondering who could possibly be disturbing your peace and quiet. You sneak to the front door so that you can just peek through the little peephole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have one of them, but I'm just...
Yeah, if we
this
do.
is your imagination, okay?
Yes.
But you want to peek through that the peephole, and you're surprised to see children.
Children?
We don't do that here. No children. It's not trick or treat. Go away. No. Then you think, oh, maybe they're just selling magazines or something for school.
Yes.
You know, like the popcorn that they make the kids sell every year at our school. But then when they look up towards the peephole and you see that they have completely black eyes.
What happened to them?
Like, completely black eyes.
What happened to them? They got in a fight.
No, I'm not talking about circles around. I'm talking about their eyeballs are completely black.
Ew.
And then they say, "Let me in."
Triple M Studios proudly presents Midweek Mini. And here's your host, Andrea Lee.
Black-eyed children are the things that urban legends are made of. The typical story of them describes them all as resembling kids, like they're typically in the 6 to 16 age group. They have really pale skin, and their eyeballs, since I have to specify that with you, are completely black.
They're black.
They're black.
They're black.
Sometimes they're seen hitchhiking, like on old, like deserted back roads, knocking on the doors of homes. They even will approach cars at gas stations and ask for money or something like that, like panhandling, you know. And they, like I said, they walk up and they just knock on your car window. Now, all the stories about these black-eyed children are similar. Their eyes are completely blacked out. They appear at the door of your home or car. They knock, and then they persistently insist that you let them in so they can call their parents. I know, right? No, I wouldn't let them in, of course. And everyone that has encountered them say that they've almost immediately felt this very heavy sense of dread or impending doom during the encounter with these children. Alex, they can't see you nodding your head.
I know. I don't know what's going through my head just then. Yeah.
Now, other than the blacked out eyes, these children appear normal, just like regular kids. And that's the part that could be the scariest part of all. They appear to be normal kids.
Yeah.
But now some people have reported that the kids are wearing outdated clothes, from
40s.
I don't know that it was the 40s, but it just says, I just read that it was outdated clothes. But then, people do shop at the Goodwill, and you do see a lot of older clothes there.
Correct.
So, but anyway, that their clothes are outdated, and some have even said, or a few have even said, that their feet are like a bird's talons. They look like bird feet. Yeah.
The bird.
And honestly, if I looked out my peephole and saw something standing out there that had talon feet, I probably would
die.
Yeah. Probably. Now, no one really knows where they came from, but everyone has thoughts on their origins. Now, conspiracy theorists say that they're aliens in disguise. And I could see that because you know how, like, a lot of times the aliens are pictured with these big black eyes?
Yeah.
And they got the funny little feet. So, I mean,
Could be.
that's reasonable, you know?
Yeah.
And demonologists say that they're the children of the devil himself. And if you let his children into your home or car, you're inviting the devil into your life. Now, when these stories started is debatable because some people say it happened or it started back in the 80s, but others say it started around 1996. In 1996, there was a writer by the name of Brian Bethel, and he told his encounter, told of his encounter with these black-eyed children in Abilene, Texas. And then in 2012, he appeared on an episode of the Destination America show called Monsters and Mysteries in America. Now, I looked on the Discovery Plus app because, you know, Destination America is included in the Discovery Plus stuff, but I couldn't find that episode. It had the first 3 seasons, but it didn't. I went through all 3 of those seasons and couldn't find it. And the weird thing about that to me is like season 1, all those had like 2013, but this says he appeared. What I've read, it said he was on that show in 2012, so none of that made sense.
Yeah.
But now I did find a clip of his segment on YouTube, and what I'll do is put a link to that clip in the description of this episode. Now, Mr. Bethel said that late one evening, while he was driving, he stopped in a parking lot of a movie theater to write a check. Now, he was so into what he was doing that he hadn't even noticed that 2 boys had walked up to his car until one of them tapped on his window. When he rolled down his window, he felt that overwhelming feeling of dread that the others have described. The older boy told him that they wanted to see a movie, but had left their money at home and wanted to know if he could drive them back to their house to get the money. Well, they told him that it wouldn't take long and that they didn't have a gun. Now, why would anybody say that? And Mr. Bethel, he found that really odd too, and realized that the film that they wanted to see had already started, and by the time they drove out to these kids' house and came back, the movie would just be over.
Yeah.
Now, he broke eye contact with the boys, and that feeling of dread that dread he had became heavier. Like, that feeling just became heavier. And once he reestablished eye contact with them again, he realized that their eyes were completely black.
Yeah.
Now, when he gave them an excuse as to why he couldn't give them a ride, they became really frustrated and told him that unless he gave them permission, they couldn't enter the car. And that's another odd statement, and I'm sure he thought so too. But at that point, he raced out of the parking lot. And one thing that you should know about Mr. Bethel is he's not your typical believer of paranormal stuff. I'm not saying that we are a type of person, but from what I've read, he was pretty skeptical of paranormal stuff until this happened to him. And he's a well-known journalist in his area, and to this day he still stands by what he experienced with those kids. Now, in 2014, over in the UK, a newspaper published 3 front-page stories about sightings of the black-eyed children, or some black-eyed children, appearing in a haunted pub in Staffordshire. So it's not just in the United States that these black-eyed children have been spotted. Now, another thought in this legend is that these black-eyed children only approach those who already know about them. And so if that's correct, then I think what I'll do is just brainwash myself after we finish recording that I had never heard of the black-eyed children. Because I'm not so sure that if they were to approach me in my little car and knock on the window, I'm not sure that little Luna the Honda could get me out of there fast enough.
Exactly.
Now, most all of these stories include that it happened late at night, or they were driving in their cars on an empty back road. Some have reported seeing the black-eyed children lurking in dark corners of their bedrooms during episodes of sleep paralysis. But there's one thing that is left out of all of these stories. What happens if you do let them into your homes or cars? Nobody's ever told that side of it.
Yeah.
But see, that leads me to believe that this is what happens to people who just vanish without a trace.
Look,
Maybe they did let the...
We're gonna be the ones that gonna do it. We're gonna let them in.
We're not letting them in.
Okay.
We're not even rolling down the window.
We're gonna lock everything.
Or, you know how sometimes they find people who have died and, like, the circumstances are, like, fishy but not obvious, like, of what they died from. Maybe it wasn't natural causes. Maybe it was these black-eyed children.
Children.
But I guess we'll never really know. I mean, because I would assume that if you do let them in, something sinister happens, and that's just not
fun.
A fun thing.
I don't know.
So, have any of y'all out there ever encountered a black-eyed children, or one or more black-eyed children? I can't talk today, sorry. If you have, we'd love to hear about it. You can send us an email at 3mpodcast3, and those are the number 3, not spelled out. It's just 3M, like Mary, podcast3 at gmail.com. We'd like to know, like, where you saw them at, or like the circumstances surrounding it, or what you were doing, or anything, just anything you want to tell us about it. I'd love to hear it. But anyway, that's all I've got for today. Have a good rest of your day, and don't forget to come back on Saturday for the Weekend Weird Files.